In terms of vectors, matrices, scalar values, this representation with the aid of linear algebra we do. So that's the need of linear algebra. So what the linear algebra will do, it is intermediate medium between the original real-time media, which can produce a required form of information, and the system working on particular numbers. So it is providing a flexible format of information, a qualitative or quantitative input, a real-time original form of information to a set of numbers, simply a set of numbers. So we do some operations over this set of values with the help of linear algebra, that we can call it as signal processing. We are processing the information. Indirectly, we can say the system operating on numbers, not on directly image, not on directly voice, not on directly video. Whatever may be the form of information signal, here the system working on numbers. So the conversion from this kind of information to numbers will do by linear algebra. So that's why there is a need of linear algebra for signal processing case. At the same time, communication point of view also. In communications also, what we do from transmitter to receiver, we want to send information signal. How this channel will respond to incoming signal. The analysis we do at the receiver by assuming the channel as a filter or assume the channel as a system, a linear time variant system, sometimes ideal cases linear time invariant system, and we can observe the output by convoluting incoming signal with the impulse response. And here the total system processing will working on vectors and matrices. So there is a need to represent our original information in terms of these vectors and matrices and scalar components. So how we do represent that, how to do some processing applications that deals with this linear algebra. So then we'll get into basics of linear algebra. I'm sharing this. Is it visible or not? Just check it once. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Now, see this. In this today's session, here we will discuss this. First case, the need of linear algebra we already discussed, and coming to some basic requirements from linear algebra. We will discuss. So for next generation wireless networks, for next generation signal processing operations, what are the basics we need from linear algebra? That we will discuss in today's session. So as a first part, I'm giving this here the outline. What are the points we need to discuss here? As a first one, we'll see vectors, scalars, vectors, matrices, and some properties of vectors which we need. And coming to matrices, most importantly, we know already. So we can plan this matrices set of vectors. Is there any dependency between these vectors? If the rows and the columns are linearly independent or dependent, how the relationship, how to find the solutions for this set of equations. We'll see all the properties of matrices and operations over these matrices, operations over vectors, and some important parameters related to these vectors and matrices, which we do help in signal processing case. So we'll discuss with respect to matrices, vectors, and with respect to matrices, we see rank of a matrix, eigenvalue, eigenvectors, inverse of a matrix, and SVD, decomposition of a matrix, and you can find power of any matrices with the help of, so this inverse of a matrix, that also we can discuss all these things. And coming to vectors, we discuss most importantly norm of a vector. Norms we can see, and some properties of vectors, relationships with respect to vectors we'll see. Apart from these vectors and matrices, if time permits, we'll discuss probability. And if time permits, we just extend our linear algebra to linear system of equations. So it is a system of linear equations, we can say. How to solve those equations and how to find a solution. How to find solution. So it is a system of linear equations we'll discuss. In this particular case, depending on the relationship between set of vectors, is there any possibility of finding a solution for this? We can able to analyze, and is there any possibility we can estimate the solution? So the solutions like whether this relationship is consistent or inconsistent. Based on that, we can determine whether a solution is available or not. Just we see a system of linear equations and all. So these things we will discuss under linear algebra. If we extend these, apart from vectors, matrices, and these, probability we can include in linear algebra. Especially we are dealing with the random processes. In real time, any random issues we have, like a noise analysis. Noise is random in nature. So if you want to analyze the performance of a noise signal, which will impact our own information signal. So for those cases, we can include random process also. And if keep on extending this linear algebra concept beyond to that, some probability issues, some distribution functions, vectors, matrices, system of linear equations, and some particular new kind of things, machine learning, cyber physical systems, soft computing, and these type of things. We see nature of the optimization problem, how we can define an optimization problem, how to solve it, and how to determine nature of that, whether it is a convergent problem or divergent problem, whether it has solution or not. So nature of optimization problem can be analyzed with the help of linear algebra. So we can classify our optimization problem into different types, and we can able to solve that with the help of linear algebra. So nature of a problem also can be analyzed using linear algebra. So we have advanced linear algebra also that deals with the, so this new thing, neural networks, machine learning, fuzzy, soft computing algorithms. So coming to basic linear algebra, we can use all these relationships for the pre-processing of information. At the same time, system operations over input signal. At the same time, convex optimization case. If you want to solve any optimization problem mathematically by using a kind of curve fitting or convex optimization methods, linear algebra will help you a lot. So the basics about this linear algebra really will help us. I will start with the vectors first. But remember, there is no limit for this linear algebra concept to signal processing and communications. That depend on our type of application. So as a part of this FDP, it deals with the compressive sensing, sparse signal recovery. What are the basic required for this sparse signal recovery? With respect to that, we will discuss the topics related to linear algebra specifically. So because this FDP aimed for compressive sensing. So they simply formed a relationship, a kind of thing, AX is equals to B. If you know any two, there's a possibility to find out the third one. And but here, if you assume want to find out X. So it is possible to have A inverse B if A is having inverse. If it is not possible, we are unable to write this relationship like this. And to analyze the properties of these three, A, X, and B, their dimensions and their nature of their elements, operations over those elements and columns, what are the basics required from linear algebra to deal with the compressive sensing, we will discuss in this. As a part of that, first we will see vectors. We know a scalar and we know vector. The simple meaning, it's an array of elements. Vector is an array of elements, and coming to scalar, we know it is a single value. And what extra it has a vector. So we have vector operations, vector addition, vector subtraction, element by multiplication, element by element multiplication, we know. So dot product, scalar product, we have. So sometimes we have dimensionality of a vector, order of a vector. So simple, if it is one dimensional, two dimensional, three dimensional. So a matrix is there, it is a two dimensional. We have number of rows, number of columns. It is a set of vectors, set of vectors. We can say it is not unidirectional, it is two dimensional, and we have three dimensional matrices also, like a color image, a color image. So simply vector is an array of elements, and it has some properties. At the same time, it has some characteristics. Every vector has its own dimensionality. Dimensionality. What's the meaning of dimensionality? Suppose three elements are there. Three elements are there. The number of entries of a vector. So simply like this. The number of entries are three. The dimensionality is three. Even though if you write a matrix, you can find the dimensionality by observing the number of entries into the matrix. So every matrix or every vector having its dimensionality and the length of the vector, its magnitude like S. So this in vector space, every vector has its length, directionality, dimension, at the same time its own length. So a vector is there, it is represented with a set of numbers, array of elements. By one property of vector, one parameter of vector, we can analyze the behavior of vector. We can analyze the behavior of vector. So how this behavior of a vector, how it is projecting in vector space, how big it is, how small it is. At the same time, how close this vector with respect to another vector. So these factors we can come to know by norm of a vector. Norm of a vector. What the norm indicates here? Norm indicates it's a magnitude, vector magnitude. How big it is? We can say it is the length of a vector in simple words. Length of the vector. Length of the vector. It's a basic characteristic. Means how big it is compared to others, how small it is compared to others, how close it is compared to others, or near to what type of vectors it is close to. So that will determine by a factor norm, norm of a vector, norm of a vector. So in simple words, what we used to represent for a norm of a vector is, we already know basic form of norm of vector. Let us take this is a vector we have. So norm we need to find it out. So the basic norm type we have L2 norm, L2 norm. So it is a square root of summation of square of each element. 1 square plus 2 square plus 1 square. It is under root of summation of square of each element of a vector. Here everything with respect to 2. We are squaring the term, taking the summation, and it is a square root, under root also. We can write it is 1 by 2. So that's why it is L2 now. L2 now. So it indicates magnitude of the vector, length of the vector. By observing this norm, we can analyze the behavior of this vector. And it's a comparison, how this vector is compared to other vectors. Same as if you find L1 norm also, L1 norm. I'm saying it with respect to it's a square, square, square. If you replace this square by 1, it will take you summation in simple words. It is L1 norm. It is simply most of the times we can prefer this L2 norm, and depending on the type of application, you can select L1 norm also, and infinity norm also there. Infinity norm. If keep on increasing this power, otherwise replace this square by infinity, it is almost equal to maximum of number of elements, absolute value of each element. It's absolute value of, let us assume it is A1, A2, A3. It's the absolute value of A1, absolute value of A2, absolute value of A3. Among these three, which one is maximum? That will come out as infinity norm. Infinity norm, because if you take highest power of any element, it will dominate remaining elements, because they are very less number of values compared to this. It is a dominating factor. And if you take infinity number of power to this particular element, this value is the highest value compared to the remaining value powers. Automatically, except this with the highest power, remaining all will be neglected. So automatically, which is the maximum value among this vector, that will come out as infinity norm. Infinity norm. So in this way, norm can analyze the behavior of a vector. It can represent its magnitude. It represents its length of the vector. And coming to matrices, so for vectors we have norms. For matrices also we need to find norms. Fibonacci norm we have for element, each element. If you take L2 norm and all, for matrices also you can find. That type of norm is called Fibonacci norm. If you deal with the matrices, that will help you. So coming to important parameters of vector, so we already have dot product, cross product of vectors, and we have laws associated with the vectors, associated law, distributed law, and linearity. These are the basic properties with respect to vectors. But what extra we need to remember with respect to vectors, mainly, when we can say two vectors are linearly independent, when we can say two vectors are linearly dependent, and if you write a matrix as a set of vectors, how can we differentiate rows and columns? Rows and columns. If you have linearly dependence or independence, how to solve for a solution? How to get a solution? So coming to signal processing applications, especially with respect to optimization for the conditions of, especially nowadays, machine learning, most of the times they are using. We need to determine first of all whether this classification has a solution or not. So take an example of a matrix, a simple case like this. So let us assume is equals to sum y1, y2, and y3. Let us assume. Now, how we can form this multiplication? Multiplication of two matrices. Multiplication, let us assume it is a matrix A, it's a matrix X. Here the multiplication of two matrices, we can say it is x1 plus 2x2 plus 3x3. That is a 4x1 plus 5x2 plus 6x3. 7x1 plus 8x2 plus 9x3. See, it is a linear combination of a particular column and a particular row. So linear combinations of vectors will leads to multiplication of matrices. How can we understand the multiplication of two matrices? It is simply a vector space in which the number of rows and columns linearly related. So observe any one value. So here it becomes a scalar value, it becomes a scalar value, it becomes a scalar value. Observe any quantity, observe any one. It is a linear combination of, so this particular vector, a particular vector. So 7, 8, 9. These are the elements from matrix x1, x2, x3. These are elements from another matrix. So it is simply nothing but a matrix multiplication is nothing but linear relationship between set of vectors. Here the vectors are nothing but number of rows, columns of a matrix. If it is a two-dimensional case, if it is a three-dimensional case, an example of color image or a video signal is a set of frames. Three-dimensionality we have. If you want to find out dimensionality, see the number of entries, concatenated all the number of entries, calculate the number of entries, and you can say it's a dimensionality. We can call that as a tensor. Tensor, if it is more than two-dimensional, we generally used to call them as tensors. Example, a video signal is an example for tensor. It is more than two-dimensional. How to represent that and how to do pre-processing for these tensors. So matrix, vector, and a tensor. You start with a scalar, a single value, vector, an array of elements, and coming to matrix, the set of as a collection of vectors, And coming to tensor, if it is more above this two-dimensionality, we can call it as a tensor. And coming to all the properties of vector and the basic properties of matrix and the basic properties of tensor, almost the same, but it deals with the number of dimensions we have is the different factor compared to all. And coming to this linear dependency and independency of a system of linear equations, any two rows or columns of a matrix if you find the rank of a matrix like that, independent rows and columns, the number of independent rows and columns we have, that is nothing but a rank of a matrix. So that determines actually the independent and dependent relationship between the number of columns and rows of a matrix. If you have that independency, there is a specific kind of finding the solution for the set of linear equations. So before going to that, we'll start with some important properties of matrix, which we use for signal processing applications, linear algebra case. So we already know. So matrix operations. Matrix addition, subtraction we do. For that, matrix size should be same. But we know that we know. And if it is matrix multiplication, A into B, so we already know the size should be matched with respect to number of columns with respect to number of rows. If it is m cross n, it is n cross 1. So the number of columns of a first matrix should be equal to number of rows of a second matrix. If it both should be equal, we can do the multiplication, and the resultant matrix size should be, it is m cross 1. And coming to remaining all matrix operations, especially for addition subtraction, matrix size should be same. Matrix size should be same. And coming to here, size should not be same, but the number of columns with respect to number of rows of first and secondary matrix should be same. Then only we can do this multiplication of matrices. And coming to this other important matrix relationships, we already know how to determine inverse of a matrix, rank of a matrix, eigenvalues, eigenvectors of a matrix. Because eigenvalues, eigenvectors are most important that we repeatedly use in signal processing applications and communication applications. Compared to vectors, we need representation of these matrices for pre-processing of information signal. Most of the times, the real-time signals are two-dimensional and three-dimensional and tensors. Again, matrix is a combination of set of arrays only. So everything is interconnected. So mostly we deal with matrices. We can convert any dimensional signal to, so two-dimensional, one-dimensional, we do operations and we pre-process signal and we get a final output and we can use that. And coming to this matrix, most importantly, we already discussed inverse of a matrix. Inverse of a matrix. We already know a 2 by 2 matrix. A 2 by 2 matrix, we simply find a determinant and we find out inverse of a matrix, we simply A inverse by, so determinant AD minus BC, let us assume it is A, B, C, D. So this cross product will determines the determinant. It is AD minus BC and reverse it D minus B minus C A. It's a way to find out inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix, where this factor, the denominator factor, represents determinant of this matrix. By observing determinant of a matrix, we can analyze the behavior of matrix up to some level. If you know rank of a matrix, we can further extend information about the matrix. If you know eigenvalue and eigenvectors of a matrix, we come to know how effectively we can use this matrix for signal processing applications without disturbing the entries of a matrix. By observing all the elements of a matrix and parameters of matrix, sometimes it is sufficient to operate over some set of values, not all. Very few values from a matrix are sufficient to analyze the behavior of information. No need to have all the entries of a matrix if you know the behavior of a matrix. That's why we need to understand inverse of a matrix, rank of a matrix, eigenvalues of a matrix. Every characteristic of this matrix, if you know, then we can give best representation of a matrix. We can use it for our signal processing applications. That depends on type of application again, whether we need to save the memory, whether we need to deal with the less number of bits, whether we need to have so less prominent of noise. Everything we can able to address by knowing the behavior of matrix. So to analyze this behavior of a matrix, one performance metric is inverse of a matrix. For 2 by 2, it is like this. If it is above 2 by 2, more than 2, like a simple example of 3 by 3 matrix, we need adjoint matrix, cofactors, determinant of a matrix. So the simply 3 by 3 matrix, we can come to know it is the same as 1 by determinant of A. Let us assume the matrix is A and it is adjoint A. And we need to calculate determinant for every entry of a matrix. And coming to this adjoint matrix, we determine it from cofactors. The sign we are assigning to each entry in inverse matrix, it is -1 whole to the power I plus j, where I indicates a row, where j indicates column. Every entry of a matrix has its own cofactor value. And with respect to that, we need to find determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix. So like this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Suppose I want to deal with 1. So we have to omit a particular row with respect to it and a particular column with respect to its own location. So we'll omit this first column and first row. The remaining 4 elements, we need to find out the determinant, cross product and subtraction. So it is 5 into 9 minus 8 into 6. It is a determinant with respect to this first element. So likewise, the second element, 4, 6, 7, 9, with respect to the third element. So we will omit this third column, first row. The 4 elements left out are 4, 5, 7, 8. So 4 into 8 minus 7 into 5. So likewise, every element has its own cofactor value and its own 2 by 2 determinant. By including all these, we can find out this adjoint matrix. For this adjoint matrix, we need to have a transpose of A. Take the transpose of A and need to find out 2 by 2 determinants. And substitute in this factor, we can find out inverse of a matrix. Inverse of a matrix. So coming to rank of a matrix, the number of non-zero rows or columns in simply linearly independent rows, we can have this rank of a matrix. We do some row operations, column operations, and I try to find out rank of a matrix. Rank of a matrix. So for this, we have many methods, some shortcuts also to find the rank of a matrix. But there is specialty of this rank of a matrix. If you know rank of a matrix, we can determine whether the solution for this particular set of vectors we have in matrix is possible or not. Is possible or not, we can say. Because from the system of linear equations, we clearly come to know we want to solve for a number of variables, a number of equations should be there. But here m and n, two different. Number of variables are different and number of equations we have is different. In those particular cases also, if you have the behavior of matrix with you, at least we can estimate whether a solution is possible or not. If you want to know that, we need to know the rank of a matrix. If you want to know the rank of a matrix, we need to know, is there any linear dependency between the number of rows and columns of a matrix? It simply determines the rank of a matrix, the relationship, whether they are linearly independent or dependent. This factor we can come to know from the rank of a matrix. And coming to most importantly, eigenvalue, eigenvectors of a matrix. Eigenvalue and eigenvectors of a matrix. So just have a look at this. Eigenvalue and eigenvectors. Let us take a matrix A, size n by n. It's a square matrix, let us assume. can able to represent A with expression Ax is equal to lambda x, where lambda is the eigenvalue. Where x is the eigenvector. So here it is, a matrix is multiplying with a vector is equal to a eigenvalue, it is a scalar quantity. Most important, it's a scalar value. The scalar value is multiplying with the same x. Ax is equal to lambda x. How it is possible? And when it is possible? What is the significance of this eigenvalue and this eigenvector in real time? Now, coming to physical existence of this eigenvalue and eigenvector, what it means? Anyone? What's the real meaning of eigenvalue and eigenvector? Why there is a need of eigenvalue in real time with respect to our own information signal? What is the significance of this eigenvalue? Anyone from our side?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
May I answer it, sir?
Yes, yes. Please, please.
So in signals and systems, if you apply some input to the system, output will be the same function, but it is scaled by some magnitude. So here the eigenvalue can be treated like a magnitude.
Okay, a scaling factor, lambda.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Eigenvector?
Eigenvector is like the input to the system, sir.
Eigenvector is input to the system, and lambda is a scaling factor provided by the system. Anything else? Very good. Good.
Linearity, sir.
Amma?
To have a linear system, we use the eigenvalues.
To
Scalar.
have a linear system, we have eigenvalue. Anything else? Anything else? Good. Anything else? Anything else with respect to eigenvalue? So understand here it is a matrix is multiplying with the vector as a matrix again, but we are relating it with respect to a scalar. Lambda is a scalar value, but A is a vector. Can you differentiate the thing? Let us assume Ax is equal to lambda x. Ax is equal to lambda x. The similarity, so observe this, Ax is equal to lambda x. Let us assume x is the same, but here it is a matrix, but here it is a scalar. What is the logic behind this?
We are converting array of elements into a single element, sir.
What is the need? Why there is a need of a scaling factor? Anyone? From signal processing point of view itself, whether it may be system output or input, whatever may be, why we are writing like this? Just elaborate our question. Anyone? Anyone? Is the screen visible or not?
Yeah, visible, sir.
What is the significance of this? At least what is the significance of eigenvector? Eigenvector.
It's the same direction.
Very good. Same direction. It's the right answer. Same direction. All the vectors, all possibilities, all the linear combinations are all combinations of entries of a vector will not lead to eigenvector. There is a specialty of eigenvector. X and Ax are a lambda x. Both should be in same direction. That's the right answer we have. Very good. So let
Thank you,
us assume
sir.
yes, it is x in direction. It is scaling factor. Lambda is a scaling factor. Lambda x also should be in the same direction. Then only we can call it as eigenvalue. Then only it is with respect to that a particular x, we call it as eigenvector. The specialty of this eigenvalue is both should be in the same direction. What benefit we will get? Both are in same direction. Any answer? Suppose both and lambda x and x are in the same direction. What's the benefit we will get? From signal processing point of view, what is the advantage of this vector, eigenvector? Anyone?
Sir, for completion, or let us say for stretching.
Very good, Amma. So indirectly we can say, very good, very good, very good, very good. Now try to understand it in a simple manner. So we are not disturbing the properties of a signal, especially a vector. It is in the same direction. So there is a possibility of compressing it, there is a possibility of extending it, as you said, right answer. But we are not changing its direction. So we have a possibility to process it in the same direction. In the same direction. That's a specialty of this eigenvector and eigenvalue. And for a simple 2 by 2 or 3 by 3, how to find eigenvalue and eigenvector, this we'll know. And coming to condition, we have how to find this eigenvalue. How to find eigenvalue? Determinant of a minus lambda I is equals to 0. We are having a characteristic equation. We're having a characteristic equation. So it is a minus lambda I. A minus lambda I. For this matrix, we can calculate a determinant and make equal to 0. So this characteristics we can determine from this equation itself. Ax is equal to lambda x. Simply we can write ax minus lambda x is equals to 0. But lambda is a scalar value. We can write it as lambda I into x. So simply it is a minus lambda I is multiplying with x is equals to 0. So simply the determinant a minus lambda I is equals to 0. If you try to solve this characteristic equation, determinant of a minus lambda I, solve for lambda, which is called eigenvalue of this matrix. Eigenvalue of this matrix. And if you know eigenvalues, you can find out the characteristics of a matrix. We can analyze the entries also. Sometimes, as you said, the compression, extension, expanding, and sometimes all the entries are not required for a matrix to process also. So that we are using for compressive sensing. For all the entries, most of the entries they are taking as zeros. Very few elements they are taking as non-zero elements. They are operating over that without any loss of information. There is a possibility to reconstruct the original signal back. Like your sensed matrix, measurement matrix, they have all the entries are not required. So that you can come to know by knowing the characteristics of matrix. We do a small example for this eigenvalue and eigenvector, how to find out, and we'll see the physical meaning of this. Let us take an example of like this. Both you can find out. Let us assume. So we need to determine, so determinant of a minus lambda I, and I have to make it equal to 0, solve for lambda. So a minus lambda I, identity matrix, a size 2 by 2. So simply it is 6 minus lambda 3, that is a 4, 5 minus lambda. For this we need to find out a determinant. So simply it is a 6 minus lambda 5 minus lambda minus 12. is equals to 0. Simply it is equals to minus 6 lambda plus lambda square minus 5 lambda. So it is almost, by summarizing this, you can say it is simply lambda square plus 5 lambda. It's a 5 minus lambda, simply minus lambda. It is minus 42 is equals to 0. If you find the roots, if you place it is 6 7 minus 7 lambda plus 6 lambda. If you take lambda as common, it almost equal to lambda equal to minus 7 or 6. These two are eigenvalues of this matrix. Let us assume for a particular value of 6, how it will be. So we have eigenvalue of 6. Let us assume lambda 1 is equal to 6. We have first relationship. We can write Ax is equal to lambda x. We can write Ax is equal to lambda x. So it is Ax is minus 6, 3, 4, 5. It is x is, let us assume x1 and x2. And lambda is 6. It is x1 and x2. Now relate the term, it is minus 6x1 plus 3x2 is equals to 6x1. Like as the same one, 4x1 plus 5x2 is equals to 6x2. It is almost minus 12x1 plus 3x2 is equals to 0. It is equals to 4x1 minus x2 is equals to 0. You can find simply x1 value or x2 value. x2 is simply 4x1. x2 is simply 4x1. Let us assume x1 is equals to 1. Let x2 equal to 4. Substitute those two values. It is 4 minus x2, 4 is equals to 0. This is satisfying. So one possibility of this vector is, let us assume x1 is equals to 1, x2 will be 4. It is a vector. It is an eigenvector possibility. There may be more than one possibility also for eigenvectors. We keep on, but depending on nature of the matrix we have. So we have this particular combination of a vector which can satisfy the relationship Ax is equal to lambda x. We can extend the same vector in the same direction with a scaling factor. We can extend its length. So there is a possibility of compressing it. There is a possibility of expanding it in the same direction. We need to process without disturbing the nature of this particular vector. So where this particular vector will exist with respect to a particular value, eigenvalue of lambda. So using these eigenvalues and eigenvectors, we can find out the determinant of a matrix also. Product of all eigenvalues and then you see the determinant of a matrix. So it will change depending on type of application, whether you are using signal processing application case or optimization case, how to use these eigenvalues and eigenvectors. But the difference is like this. So there's a possibility of, even you can calculate eigenvector when you substitute lambda equal to 7 also. Lambda equal to minus 7 or 6. So you need to find out this determinant of a matrix A minus lambda I and make equal to 0. Try to solve for lambda. And by observing the lambda, you can determine a possible eigenvectors of each eigenvalue. So what we mean to say is here from this relationship Ax is equal to lambda x. Ax is equal to lambda x. For a particular value of lambda, there is a possibility of particular set of x. There is existence of a vector from a particular scalar value of lambda. So means a single scalar value, which is eigenvalue of our matrix, will provide you a set of values a particular vector x, which can extend our particular vector in the same direction. It can compress our particular vector in the same direction. So a vector possibility can determine a scalar possibility can determine a vector. From this eigenvalue relationship, we can determine that. And if the determinant is 0 for a matrix, you can't find the inverse of a matrix. And coming to solution, you can't find any solution. Determinant is not equal to 0, then we have a particular unique solution or infinity number of solutions. That again depending on whether this problem is homogeneous or non-homogeneous. We'll come to system of linear equations, then we'll see. Most of the times, all our representations in compressive sensing, sparse signal representation. A representation is like this: is x is equal to b. Whenever this b equal to 0, it is a homogeneous system. Ax equal to 0, homogeneous system. If Ax is equal to b in real time, most of the times we are taking a inhomogeneous, non-homogeneous systems. Ax equal to b. And how to find the solution for x? How to approximate x? If we have inverse of a, we can write x is equal to a inverse b. But if you don't have an inverse, then how to find or how to estimate x? So that we have many other possibilities of reconstructing x. As the one point of compressive sensing, if you need to solve n number of, you need to find a solution for n number of variables, n number of expressions should be there. But coming to the basic principle of compressive sensing, we don't have n number of expressions, m number of expressions, which is sometimes maybe less than n, maybe greater than n, maybe equal to n. There is no need of always n number of variables should not have n number of expressions. A contradictory statement we have in compressive sensing because we are not taking all the entries of a matrix. The size is different of a sensed data and this measurement data and reconstructed original signal. So in this particular cases, how to find this solution that comes from this linear set of equations? At last, after this eigenvalue and eigenvector and matrix operations, inverse, and we'll deal with the system of linear equations. System of linear equations. We already have this representation. Let us assume it is a m cross n. A is a matrix size. A is m cross n. And take a matrix B. It is n cross 1. If you multiply these two, we already have this relationship. It is a linear combinations of vectors. A vector space, they are creating vector space. How to represent this vector space? By vector addition with a scaling factor multiplication. So let us assume A11, A12, swan. So it is A21, swan, AM1, and it is a swan, AMN. Likewise. So let us assume here it is x1, x2, and swan, xn. How can we write this A11, x1 plus A12, x2, and so on? Let's say linear combination of this, which is equals to a particular value. Let us assume it is Ax is equals to b, If D equals to 0, it is homogeneous solution. It becomes a 0. If it is not equal to 0, you can try to find the solution of that. Solution of that. We have a unique solution, number of non-zero elements. Yes, sir? Sir, 1 minute. 1 minute. Sir, sir, please come in. Hello? Sir,
Yes, sir.
Is it audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Sir. Sorry for delay, sir. Some emergency work. Is it visible, sir? I'm sharing this.
Yes, sir.
We'll continue this. Yes, we'll continue this system of linear equations. And we try to find out when we have a unique solution, when we have more number of solutions, when there is no possibility of a solution is possible, when there is no solution at all. So these conditions from set of linear equations we can determine. As we already know, with the compressive sensing, we already have so a basic relation type as Ax is equals to B. Ax is equals to B, like this is set. A inhomogeneity case, non-homogeneous system type, Ax is equals to B, where B is not equal to 0, a non-zero matrix. A non-zero matrix. So for this, what we need to find out? So first to find the rank of a matrix. From the rank of a matrix, we can come to know whether there is a solution or not. So we can classify this system into two types. A consistent system it's a non-consistent system. A non-consistent system. So when we can say it is a consistent system, if you find a rank of a matrix A, if you find a rank of a matrix A, so rank of a matrix A, which is equals to a rank of A augmented B. If both these ranks are equal, we can say it is a consistent system. Consistent system. If the rank of A is not equal to, so this rank of A augmented B, it's a non-consistent system. Again, see the value of rank. So rank of the system, rank of the system. If rank of the system is equals to number of variables of the system, let us assume X having a number of variables 3, x1, x2, x3. Suppose the rank of the matrix also 3. So means a rank of a matrix is equals to number of variables present with respect to X. Then we can say unique solution is there for this system. So whenever rank of a matrix is equals to number of variables, or when number of unknowns. So when we can have a unique solution for this. Under this same consistent system, another possibility also there. Whenever this rank of A is less than or some say it is a number of variables. The number of variables are 3, but sometimes the rank is 2. Rank is less than number of variables. Then we have more number of solutions. So we can say infinity number of solutions are present. There's a number of, so more number of solutions. In this particular case, more number of solutions. So in this case, we can analyze the behavior of a particular system. So from the system, we can calculate rank of a matrix. From the rank, observe the number of variables, compare its value with the number of variables. Then we can determine whether we have a unique solution or more number of solutions. Somebody raised hand, any doubt? Not observed. Sir. Somebody raised hand. Any doubt? Yes, please. Any doubt? When determinant of a matrix is 0, then we can say no inverse is possible. Any doubt? Somebody raise their hand. Okay, shall we continue? So this is the way to determine how many number of solutions we have. So the number of possibilities also we can determine from eigenvectors also. Eigenvectors. So analyzing behavior of a matrix system with the aid of rank of a matrix, it's a way to determine like this. With the aid of eigenvector also we can do it. So we can try to find out number of solutions, possible solutions. So by substituting eigenvector into the system for a particular eigenvalue. So first to find out eigenvalue and eigenvector, substitute into the system, and we have the relationships. What are the possible values of x1 and x2 and x3 and so on. Now determine number of solutions, whether it is unique solution or more number of solutions are there. Then we can analyze the type of system. We can analyze the type of system. So this is about this linear system equations. And we can extend this linear algebra to a simple. So with all these vectors, matrices, and the system of linear equations, and how to find solution and all, so there is a possibility of estimating any one of these three. The relationship a non-homogeneous system Ax is equals to B. If you know any two, we can estimate the third one X. That we can do with the help of all this what we have discussed. Most importantly, norm of a vector, at the same time eigenvalue, eigenvector, inverse of a matrix, rank of a matrix. At the same time, with respect to vectors, their dot product and the matrix multiplication. These things will help you in compressive sensing. And finally, we can come to compressive sensing and the signal processing applications as our FTP aims for. In a real-time scenario, sensors will send some information from outside domain. So whatever we have, whether depending on type of application, whatever be the type of application we have, that is assume a measurement is there, a sensed data, information sensed data that we are fabricating, and we need to estimate our original signal X from measurement values. Suppose a color image. It consists of three-dimensional data. More number of sensors are required to sense this information. So more bits are required to represent. And data rate is more. And more memory is required. So with the aid of this sparsity, already they will discuss the basic about this compressive sensing and sparsity all. With a limited number of bits only, they are getting all the benefits of system and all. And they have ability to reconstruct the original signal back with a few number of elements of a matrix, a particular value, without losing that. Suppose see a few elements, non-zero elements only they are taking. So according to our particular case, a number of variables are there. Let us assume here the size is m cross n. It is n cross 1. Let us assume it is n cross 1 or m cross 1. Suppose a number of variables are there, but the number of equations we have are only m. So m is not equal to n in this particular case. Getting solution for this compressive sensing problem is difficult. Preferably a number of variables are there, but the set of expressions we have, set of equations we have are m. A particular case m less than n, m less than n. The number of variables are more compared to the number of set of expressions we have. Same we have observed in a set of linear equations. Rank of a matrix is less than number of variables. More number of solutions we have. It's a typical case. It is contradictory to our linear algebra, where we need n number of expressions to get solution for n number of variables. But here m is less than n. In this particular case, how to represent this problem of a compressive sensing problem with the aid of linear algebra? And still we need to solve it. So that representation, sparsity representation we have in the next DOM, I think we will be explaining the same concept in next sessions. How to represent this m less than n case also to get solution for all. And there we need basics about this linear algebra, like a rank of a matrix, eigenvalues, eigenvectors, norm of a vector. These things are required. And then they will represent this compressive sensing problem in another way. Still, that second representation has a particular solution. A non-homogeneous system, even though the number of variables are more than the number of expressions, we can introduce a new matrix representation with the help of sparsity. We try to get solution for this. But this solution representation need basics of this all linear algebra. And sometimes we need to have this probability also, because we already mentioned the random processes. Real-time random processes should not be analyzed with the single instant values. Instead of that, we need to have a set of values. I'll take an example of a class. We shall not analyze the performance of a class by asking a single person marks. Instead of that, we need to take average of a class. So any random process should be analyzed with the help of random distribution. It is not with respect to single instant value, instead a set of values. For that, we need to distribute any random process, taking the distribution with respect to a particular domain, with respect to time domain or frequency domain. It may be probability distribution function or probability density function. By observing those distribution functions, we can able to determine average values, mean, variance, standard deviation, and all. And the type of random distribution functions we have, Gaussian, Rayleigh, like that. So what are the uniform distribution, Poisson distribution, exponential distribution? So see different distribution functions, how to evaluate their mean, variance, and all, standard deviation and all. This is also a part of linear algebra, dealing with the probability and all. So vectors, tensors, matrices, their basic operations, and important parameters to evaluate, all this comes under this linear algebra. And most importantly, the conditions to be satisfied, necessary conditions, when we can able to calculate eigenvalue and eigenvector of a matrix, when we can able to evaluate inverse of a matrix, and what are the possibilities we have under this vector. These necessary conditions are most important while we are doing signal processing applications with respect to this linear algebra. Apart from this, for optimization problems also, means so we need to solve this. Ax is equals to b. I want to estimate the value of x, the finest value of x, which makes the relationship Ax equal to b valid. So for this, in compressive sensing case, there is every time a possibility of approximating, a process of estimating. Every estimation process, every approximation process have a tolerance, an error. It may be plus or minus. Suppose the original value is x, the approximated value is x cap. There is a difference between always these two. So this difference, you can call it as error or tolerance. We need to estimate it properly. We need to adjust it properly. So now by defining an optimization problem, if you want to make it as a optimum process to estimate, always you have to minimize this error. Minimize this error. Your desired value should be equal to your measured or estimated value. If both are approximately equal, if this tends to zero, if this difference tends to zero, then it becomes more robust. Your estimation becomes robust technique, optimum. It becomes optimum. So now your optimization problem should be how to make this difference. How to make this difference between desired value and estimated value as zero. So minimize this error. Minimize this error. What is your constraint? Ax is equals to b. Ax equal to b. So now how close it is, you can determine from norm also. Norm. So norm of a vector, the difference of these two, we can find the norm of this. It indicates length. We need to minimize this length. Minimize this length. So sometimes for this also, they will find out normalization to this in simple case. I want to minimize this error. I have to ideally make it as zero. Then my total estimation process, approximating process becomes optimum. Becomes optimum. When it is possible, for what values of x, both x and x cap will be approximately same by validating the relationship ax equal to b. Ax equal to b. For these type of things, we need to calculate the behavior, this noise analysis, because the estimation process is like a, so they have the representation, sparsity representation, the combinations, rows and the columns of a compressive sensing. They are making the term it as a pseudo noise. So what's a specific term pseudo noise? It seems to be random in nature, but in real time it is not random. So we are generating this pseudo noise in a predeterministic manner. There is a deterministic way to generate it. Their distribution seems to be random, but specifically it is completely not in random in nature. There is a predetermined procedure to generate this pseudo nature. The rows and columns of this particular matrix representation, whatever we have for a sparsity, so it has the combinations of, or it will be generated with the help of pseudo noise. So generally in digital electronics also using shift registers, they will generate this pseudo noise and all. So a combinations of ones and zeros repeatedly randomly will exist, their combinations. But who will generating this pseudo noise will have this basic knowledge about a particular instant, what amount of data will be generated from this pseudo register and all. That will be noted. We have knowledge of this pseudo noise. If you have perfectly have this pseudo noise knowledge at the receiver also, we can estimate the signal back. The original signal can be reconstructed at the receiver easily at the receiver. That is possible. That is possible. But during this total process of compressive sensing, a measured matrix, a sparsity matrix, estimated signal recovery, all these values will need a basic linear algebra relationships. Importantly, L2 norm, L1 norm of a vector, rank of a matrix, and this inverse of a matrix, and finally the relationship, evaluation of system equations. When we have a unique solution, when we have more number of solutions, when it is not possible to calculate, a system is inconsistent, and the determinant or rank of a matrix. So we need to have all these basics to analyze this compressive sensing and all. And most importantly, remember, so this error analysis, adding error analysis. So we need to take help from again. So distributions. And ideal case, you just add a AWGN noise. A simple case of AWGN noise you can add here instead of AX plus some noise. Representation will be like this. But in real time, it is not possible to have always plus n. Practically, it is not possible. It is ideal noise. That's why we are calling it as AWGN noise. AWGN noise, we can analyze the performance, which makes our system more robust. We should not directly say without analyzing this total compressor sensing analysis in real time without practical noise. We should not call it as a robust technique. So it is an ideal case you tested it with AX plus N. But in real time, you just generate a practical noise distribution. So you can generate the number of instances, how many number of instances you have to consider. That depending on the size of your matrix, number of entries of the matrix, dimensionality of the matrix, and analyze the behavior. Analyze the behavior. Try to minimize this error such that AX equal to B. Make always the relationship AX equal to B. And coming to one more problem with respect to this compressive sensing, and we need to more concentrate on. So first condition already we discussed, M less than or equal to N, how effectively we can represent with the help of sparsity, we already seen. And some particular properties of this sparsity we have. In the explanation of compressive sensing, you come to know what are the necessary conditions for the representation of this original information reconstruction from the sensor data, measured data. You can able to find it out. During that process, we have some limitations, especially if you don't have knowledge about this complete measured data and where to take the positions of this sparsity, especially where to or which elements we have to be non-zero elements, which elements to be zero elements. The positions of non-zero elements, the number of non-zero elements per matrix, the level of sparsity, optimum level of sparsity. That also you can define it as an optimization problem. You can able to solve for it with the help of linear algebra again. You should not go beyond the validation of this linear algebra principles to solve for any application of convex compressive sensing and all. You have to keep in mind all the basic properties you have to validate. So it should be a non-homogeneous system. At the same time, you should have a unique solution. For that, what are the basic requirements it has to satisfy? Every linear algebra principle should be validated with respect to this sparsity compressive sensing case. If it is not possible, how to represent this non-convex problem as convex problem? A concave signal, how to represent in the form of convex, how to find the solution for this particular case. So this representation you have to consider about. But coming to optimality, every time a mathematical modeling is represented, representation is required. So any possible cases like this, simple AX equal to B, and if you have a chance to solve it, it is okay. But not possible cases, especially like a simple example of a concave function. The nature of the problem is concave, not convex. How can you able to solve it? So in that particular cases, you just change the representation of your system model. Just to change the system model representation. How to represent a concave function as convex function? By introducing some parameters, some matrices, some do row and column operations. How we can change the representation? How we can visualize a concave function as a convex function, and how to solve for a solution. So these are the extra things. These are the design goals of an engineer who is dealing with compressive sensing and all. Because everything is possible to do already exist in the literature. So simply finding the number of solutions and estimating the X value, these all are available. What are not possible till now? Optimality of the sparsity. So this position of non-zero elements, and this condition, how to effectively can represent M less than N, the number of expressions less than number of variable cases, effectively using this compressive sensing problem. Everything you need to address more than one possible case, and that should have justification. Then it will be very good work for our compressive sensing case with respect to linear algebra. And every basic principle of linear algebra to be satisfied to find the solution of Ax equal to B. That we need to find it out. And coming to constraints with respect to linear algebra, we already mentioned. So system of linear equations, whenever you are forming the multiplication a into x is equals to b, and we already know b is a non-zero matrix. So ax producing set of linear expressions between vectors. Then based on the nature of this ax, we can find the solution. But remember here, most importantly, while finding the solution of this ax is equals to b, how to represent b such that this condition should be changed. M less than or equal to n will be changed. That is our designer goal. So we need to address this also. So any queries till now, you can discuss. Yes, Srinivasulu P. Yes, ma. Srinivasulu. You raise your hand, please. Srinivasulu. Is my voice audible? Yes, Ramesh. Yes, Ramesh Halder, please.
Sir, I learned a lot, but sir, I
Yes.
want to ask that this matrix you are multiplying A is random or deterministic in the case of compressive sensing?
So that depend on your type of application, right? Suppose in a deterministic system, predetermined data, it may be information. So a sensed data generally random in nature.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Yes. It is not uniform to all the cases. So depending on our type of application. Suppose your measurements preferably deterministic in nature, but in real time we can't know, depending on the behavior of the sensors, how you are taking the information from other external sources. So sometimes, so depending on purely type of application. That's why I'm saying validate the linear algebra principles to the AX. See the behavior of A. Then only we can determine the behavior. Without analyzing the behavior of A, we can't find the solution. AX equal to B. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Good. Srinivasulu. Yes, Srinivasulu. Analyze every A and X, B and A properties also that I'm mentioning repeatedly saying. So analyze the behavior of every matrix and see the limitations. Why it is not fitting into this AX equal to B? Why it is the reason for not having a solution for this relationship AX equal to B? And how to overcome that relationship? And that we need to find out. The designer goal, an engineer goal is how to make a validation of AX equal to B. Irrespective of the behavior of A and B, how to overcome those and how to frame this relationship validated. AX equal to B. That is the designer goal. We need to observe. For that, linear algebra will help you to analyze the behavior of A and B. Yes, Srinivasulu raised a hand and is not answering any question, asking any question. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any questions? Any questions? Yes. Srinivas, I'm not, you're not asked the question. What is your doubt? We have one more session, optimization. So in that, we start the basics of compressive sensing first. How we can see this compressive sensing representation as an optimization problem. First, we'll start with that. in the second session of ours. I think we have one more session. In that session, we deal with optimization of this compressive sensing problem. How we can see a compressive sensing relationship as an optimization problem, and how we can able to solve it, and what are the different methods we have, how to apply those methods to our defined problem. What are the different other possibilities to define our own optimization problem? So that also you'll see. So those who are entering into compressive sensing as a new area, we want to address the optimization problem. So what are the different possibilities of new optimization problems that we'll address? And with respect to every vector or matrix of compressive sensing representation, what is the significance if you change any value of a particular vector or matrix? How it can affect the performance of estimation? That also we will discuss. Finally, the different optimization methods we have to solve these, that also we will discuss. So from my side, convex optimization is a better case. Still we have some new things, machine learning algorithms, soft computing algorithms, evolutionary algorithms. So these algorithms, with the help of these algorithms, how we can solve this optimization problem of compressive sensing. Before that, those who don't have basic knowledge about this compressive sensing and all, so we spare some time to analyze the basic principle of compressive sensing and this sparsity. What the physical significance of this sparsity, that we will discuss first. Then we'll get into optimization. How to solve this particular optimization problem. We can solve that in the next session. Any queries from audience?
Good afternoon, sir. Actually, I was unable to unmute my mic, sir.
Okay.
Sir, actually, I am a research scholar from SU University. My research area is wireless communication. Actually, that wireless communication topic is not there in that FDP. But can you explain how this one can be applied to this communication?
Super. Very good question. I am also from wireless communication only. Now explaining with respect to signal processing. Now, very good question. Now I have a chance to explain the things in better way. So take any wireless communication system. Let us take an example of a 4G or 5G. Simply, let us take a normal system or OFDM system. A transmitter, a receiver is there, and in between channel is there. We have a transmitted signal, and we need to analyze the signal at the receiver. Now, what we need to take is see the channel data rate, channel capacity. What's the maximum amount of data a channel can carry? So most of the times the spectrum is limited, and the channels are data limited channels. We don't have infinity number of bits we can able to transmit through the channel. There is a limitation over the channel. So what we can able to do, while we are generating the information signal at the transmitter itself, we can able to compress it. So the data rate of incoming signal is reduced with the help of compressive sensing. Means more number of bits need not to be transmitted. A few number of bits of our original information signal are sufficient to be transmitted over the channel. That's why our channel letting us to send more number of signals. And this here, every signal not having more number of bits, but less number of bits only. So that's why multiplexing of signals is possible using this compressive sensing at the transmitter. Instead of sending a heavy data rate signal through the channel, a multiple number of signals with a less number of bits, low data rate signals can be sent. It's a policy of divide and rule. A heavy loaded transmitted signal over channel. Instead of that, we are sending low data rate signals over the channel. Multiplexing is possible. We can increase the data rate and more number of signals to be transmitted. And here there are two possibilities. One possibility is we can increase the diversity order. What's the meaning of diversity order? The reliability of the transmission system. Broadcast the information signal in multiple directions from the transmitter. Same copy, same information from transmitter is broadcasted to receiver in multiple directions. Let us take multipath propagation, 4 copies are there. 4 copies are same only. At least one copy may reach the destination and hence the reliability of the transmission will increase because 4 copies are there, at least one copy may reach the destination. In that particular case, diversity of the system will increase using this compressive sensing. Because I'm not sending one copy, I'm sending multiple copies. All these multiple copies are low data rate signals. Less number of bits only I'm sending. Another possibility, instead of sending same signal in multiple copies, send different signals. 4 signals are different. 4 signals are independent to each other. Then data rate is getting 4 times. So it is 4 signals I am sending. So previously only 1 signal I have transmitted. Now 4 signals I am transmitting. So one possibility is we can able to increase the data rate. Another possibility, we can increase the reliability of the transmission, because even though you are sending with a few number of data bits, there is a possibility to reconstruct it back. So what we can do in wireless communication system, at the transmitter case, you just apply compressive sensing to your information signal, compress it. And at the receiver, after reaching at the destination, recover the signal back using compressive sensing only. So in this estimation process, we do 2 things. Without channel information, without knowledge of CSI or channel information, you can estimate the signal back, a blind technique. If you have channel state information also, you do the reconstruction process more effectively. So what are the benefits you have? With the less data rate, you are getting high reliability using this compressive sensing technique. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very
Very
much,
good,
sir.
very good, very good. That you do. So take any now advanced wireless communication system. Maybe you are working in 5G, I think so, a massive MIMO or OFDM or millimeter wave or UAV network, whatever be the type of network, try to include this compressive sensing technique at the transmitter case. While you are generating the information itself, simply apply compressive sensing and try to estimate the signal at the receiver.
Sir, even in non-orthogonal multiple axis one also can we apply, sir, this compressive?
Sure. But that will be double complexity, because in NOMA case, we need to have successive interference cancellation.
Yes, sir. Receiver.
So, yes. So there are 2 jobs. One job is successive interference cancellation. Another job is to reconstruct the original signal back. Here also, we need to estimate using compressive sensing technique. Both should be more burden to receiver if it is multi-user case. Because the number of users are only 2 user case, it is simple only. If it is multi-user case and a 2-way full duplex communication case, it is very difficult to overcome the limitations of this interference. So preferably go for massive MIMO or this terahertz communications, millimeter wave communication. In simple case, massive MIMO case, you can simply apply this compressive sensing, because there are more number of antennas you are using massive MIMO case. So the flexibility of applying compressive sensing will give you better result.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. If you have any doubt while forming the system model, you directly contact me through mail. I can help you in modeling the system.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other doubts? Any queries? Can we use soft computing? Yes, we can. That only we have another session, second session. We can use the soft computing. Yes, we have a chance, because every time we have to minimize this error, our estimated value with the desired value. So we need to minimize this error. That is possible with the help of soft computing. So see the possibilities. Convex optimization you can apply. Fuzzy logic systems you can apply. Neural networks you can apply. Evaluationary algorithms you can apply. Machine learning algorithms we can apply. Only thing is, first of all, see the nature of your optimization problem. How your optimization problem is. See the behavior of it. Whether it senses like a convex function or concave function. If it is concave function, how to change it as a convex function, first of all. Then, if you are using the soft computing algorithms like evaluational algorithms, it is independent of its nature also. Whether it may be concave or convex, blindly you can apply a soft computing algorithm to find its solution. Only thing is that the accuracy will not as much as convex optimization. Still, we can believe it for more number of iterations. You can repeat the optimization algorithm for more number of iterations, you get more accurate result. That also you can do. Application is possible. Soft computing algorithms application is possible. That we will discuss in second session. Sure. Any other doubts? Thank you. Because we will discuss that point in second session. Any other? Anything else? Sir, Kishore sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, thank you so much for giving the detailed information about the mathematical concepts that will be used in computer system field. That into communication application also. One more session is scheduled tomorrow. Particular references, optimization algorithms for signal recovery in computer system field. So I request the participants to make use of the sessions more interactively. As of now, we will try to take a break and we will be back over here at 2:30. Professor Anil Kumar, he is from PCS Calcutta. He is going to take the next session, which is scheduled at 2:30. And the topic is submatrix sampling. So he is a very good expert in antenna arrays, and those who are really interested in antenna arrays, please don't miss that session, which is very, very important. And after that session, based on your interest, we can continue it after 4:30 or then we will have to see more. Now we will try to take a break, and I would like to thank Dr. Kiran Kumar sir for taking pain and delivering the lecture. Thank you so much once again to this, sir. Thank you so much. Now we will be taking a break now.